Break the woman first. Make her watch the kitten die. Marcus Boone kicked the door in. Sarah Mitchell was already moving toward Whiskers. Her body dove across the hardwood, covering the tiny orange kitten before Tommy's boot could connect. The steel toe caught her shoulder instead. She screamed, but didn't pull away. Couldn't pull away. Her arms curled around Whiskers' trembling body, shielding the kitten from what came next. "Look at this," Marcus said. "Little hero, all alone out here." He grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. She gasped. Blood trickled from her lip, but she kept her body over the kitten. Her fingers pressed Whiskers closer to her chest. Jake circled them. "Where's your phone? Who's coming to save you?" "No one," she whispered. "Please, just take what you want." "We will." End quote. Tommy pulled his boot back for another kick. Her body tensed. Her voice cracked. "Please, she's just a baby. Then you'll have nothing left." Marcus nodded. Tommy swung his leg forward. By the fireplace, a shadow rose. Atlas had been still, docile, playing dead like Sarah taught him in Kandahar. His dark eyes tracked every movement, every threat. Every second his handler bled. His muscles coiled, his ears flattened. He waited for the word, the only word that mattered. Sarah's eyes met his through tears and pain. She spoke in German, one syllable, cold and clear. "Fass."
Leave a like and let us know where you are watching from in the comments. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the story.
The cabin smelled like rosemary and pine. Sarah Mitchell stirred the pot on the stove, watching steam curl toward the rough-hewn beams overhead. Outside, February snow drifted past the window in lazy spirals, coating the frozen lake in silence. She'd chosen this place for the quiet, for the distance, for the space between her and everything she'd left behind. Whiskers batted a toy mouse across the floor, tiny paws skittering on wood. The kitten pounced, rolled, attacked the felt tail like it had personally offended her. Sarah smiled. It was a small smile, but real. By the fireplace, Atlas didn't move. The German shepherd lay stretched on his side, dark fur gilded orange by the flames. His eyes were half closed, his breathing deep and even. Retired, docile. An old dog dreaming old dreams. Sarah knew better. She'd seen those eyes in Kandahar, seen them track insurgents through smoke and chaos, seen them go cold and focused when the command came. But that was before the discharge, before the cabin, before she traded dog tags for dish towels and told herself this was healing. She set the spoon down. Her hand trembled, just slightly. It always did around this time of evening. Muscle memory. The hour when patrols went out, when the radio crackled, when everything could go wrong in 3 seconds. But there was no radio here, no patrol, no one but her, a kitten and a dog who didn't have to fight anymore. She exhaled, forced her shoulders down. Whiskers chirped and pounced on Atlas's tail. He cracked one eye open, patient as stone, and let the kitten gnaw on him. Sarah's chest loosened. This was good. This was safe. This was the life she'd built from the wreckage. She turned back to the stove. Outside, 3 shadows moved through the trees. They'd been watching for days. They'd seen the woman alone, seen the lights go on at dusk, go off at 10. Seen her haul firewood by herself, talk to no one, lock the door like it meant something. Marcus Boone smiled in the darkness. She had no idea what was coming. Marcus Boone moved like a stain through the white woods. Behind him, Jake and Tommy followed, their boots crunching softly in fresh powder. The cabin glowed ahead, a single square of gold against the black lake and blacker trees. Smoke curled from the chimney. Someone was home. Someone was comfortable. Someone had no idea. 4 days, Jake whispered. She hasn't had a single visitor. No car in the driveway either, Tommy added. Probably snowed in. We could take our time. Marcus raised a gloved hand. They stopped 30 yards out, crouched behind a snowdrift and a stand of pines. Through the window, they could see her. Small woman, dark hair pulled back. Stirring something on the stove like she had all the time in the world. "Just her?" Jake asked. "Just her." Marcus pulled binoculars to his face. "Cat. Old dog by the fire. That's it." Tommy grinned. "Perfect." They'd done this before. Isolated homes. People who thought distance meant safety. In and out. Take the cash, the jewelry, the electronics, anything easy to move. And if someone got in the way, well. Marcus had learned a long time ago that fear kept people quiet better than kindness. "No phones," Marcus said. "First thing, smash it, take it, doesn't matter. She calls nobody." "What about the dog?" Tommy asked. Marcus looked again. The shepherd hadn't moved, just lying there like a rug, letting a kitten chew on his tail. Old, slow, probably deaf. "It's a pet," Marcus said. "Probably lick us to death." Jake laughed. Tommy checked his knife. Marcus watched the woman set down her spoon. Watched her stand there, alone, in her little cabin, with her little life. Thinking she was safe. Thinking the lock on her door meant something. Thinking no one would come. She was wrong. "We go in fast," Marcus said. "Hard. Don't give her time to think." "And if she fights?" Jake asked. Marcus smiled in the dark. "Then we make sure she stops." They moved toward the door. The door didn't open. It exploded. Wood splintered. The frame cracked. Cold air and snow blasted into the cabin as 3 men rushed through the wreckage. Sarah spun from the stove, her brain half a second behind her body. Training kicked in. Phone. Get to the phone. She lunged for the counter. Jake was faster. His hand closed over hers, ripped the phone away, and hurled it against the stone fireplace. It shattered into plastic and glass. The pieces scattered across the floor like teeth. "No," Sarah gasped. Marcus was already behind her. His fingers twisted into her hair, yanked her head back hard. Her scalp screamed, her neck arched. She could smell him, sweat and cigarettes, and something rotten underneath. "Scream all you want, sweetheart," he breathed against her ear. "Nobody's coming." By the fireplace, Atlas rose. 70 pounds of muscle uncoiled in one smooth motion. His ears came forward, his eyes locked on Marcus. A low rumble built in his chest, deep and steady like distant thunder. He took one step toward Sarah. "Atlas, 9. Her voice cracked, but the command was clear. "Bleeb." "Stay." The dog froze. His body vibrated with tension. Every instinct told him to move, to protect, to tear the threat away from his handler, but the command held him like a chain. "Smart girl," Marcus said. "Keep the mud out of it." Sarah's mind raced. 3 men, no phone, no neighbors for miles. She could fight, but they were bigger, faster, and she'd seen the knife on Tommy's belt. If she fought, they'd hurt Atlas first, make her watch. She knew how men like this worked. So she stayed still. She met Atlas's eyes across the room, saw the question there, saw him waiting for permission to do what he was built for. "Stay," she whispered again. "Not yet. Not unless." There was no other choice. Tommy stepped inside and closed what remained of the door. Marcus smiled. "Now," he said, "let's talk about what you're going to give us." Tommy shoved Sarah to the floor. Her knees cracked against the wood. Pain shot up her legs, but she didn't make a sound, wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Tommy's boot pressed between her shoulder blades, pinning her down like an insect. "Where's the money?" Marcus asked, already tearing through drawers. "I don't have." The kick came from nowhere. Jake's boot slammed into her ribs. Air exploded from her lungs. She gasped, choking, her vision spotting black at the edges. "Wrong answer," Jake said. They moved through the cabin like locusts, ripping cushions, smashing cabinets. Her laptop went into a bag, her grandmother's watch. The cash she kept in the coffee tin, $200 she'd saved for spring supplies. Tommy ground his boot harder into her back. "Stay down, bitch." She tasted blood, her own, copper and salt on her tongue. Her ribs screamed where Jake had kicked them, but she stayed quiet, stayed still. Atlas was still by the fireplace, every muscle locked, waiting for her command. As long as she didn't give it, he was safe. Then Whiskers moved. The kitten darted from under the couch. Orange fur bristled, tiny fangs bared. She hissed at Tommy's leg, latched on with claws no bigger than thorns, and scratched. "Little shit," Tommy jerked his leg. Whiskers held on. Tommy's face twisted with rage. He reached down, grabbed the kitten by the scruff, and hurled her across the room. Time stopped. Sarah watched the tiny body arc through the air, watched it hit the wall with a sound no living thing should make, watched Whiskers crumple to the floor and go still. Something inside Sarah didn't break. It unlocked. Her fear vanished. Her restraint burned away like paper in flame. She wasn't a victim anymore, wasn't calculating survival. She was a soldier, and these men had just crossed a line written in blood and fire. Her eyes found Atlas. His ears were flat, his teeth were showing. He was waiting. Sarah's voice came out cold, calm, the voice she'd used in Kandahar when everything went wrong. "Atlas," she said in German, "Fass." "Attack." The word hung in the air for one perfect second. Fass. Atlas didn't hesitate. He moved like violence given form. 80 pounds of trained fury launched across the cabin in 3 strides. Tommy didn't even see him coming. One moment he was standing over Sarah, laughing. The next, his world became teeth, and momentum, and pain. Atlas hit him chest high. Tommy went down hard. His head cracked against the floor. He screamed, tried to roll, tried to cover his face. Atlas didn't care. The dog's jaws locked onto Tommy's forearm with crushing force. Bone met teeth. Teeth won. "Get it off! Get it off!" Jake pulled his knife. "I'll kill that fucking..." Atlas released Tommy and spun. His training was crystal clear. Knife equals threat. Threat equals target. He moved before Jake could finish the sentence. The blade swung wild. Atlas ducked under it like he'd done 100 times in training yards and war zones. He came up inside Jake's guard and hit him like a missile. Jaws found the knife hand. Clamped down. Twisted. Jake's scream was high and broken. The knife clattered to the floor. Marcus backed toward the door, eyes wide, finally understanding what he was looking at. Not a pet, not an old dog sleeping by the fire. A weapon. A weapon that had been lying dormant, waiting for one word from the only person who mattered. "Call it off," Marcus shouted at Sarah. "Call it off, or I'll..." Atlas turned his head, looked at Marcus. The dog's eyes were flat and cold and utterly certain. Marcus ran for the door. He didn't make it 3 steps. Atlas crossed the distance in a blur of dark fur and bared fangs. He hit Marcus from behind, drove him face first into the broken doorframe. Marcus's nose shattered. Blood sprayed across the snow outside. The cabin filled with screaming. Sarah pulled herself to her knees. Blood dripped from her mouth. Her ribs howled. But she didn't stop Atlas. Not yet. She crawled toward Whiskers. Behind her, Atlas did what he was born to do. Atlas worked with surgical precision. Tommy thrashed on the floor, clutching his mangled arm. Blood poured between his fingers. He tried to kick, tried to scramble away. Atlas planted a paw on his chest and growled. The sound came from somewhere deep and primal. Tommy went still, survival instinct finally overriding stupidity. Jake was crying, holding his ruined hand against his chest. The fingers bent wrong. Bone showed white through torn skin where Atlas's jaws had crushed down and twisted. He dropped the knife. Couldn't hold anything now. "Please," Jake whimpered. "Please. We'll leave. We'll go. Just—" Atlas turned his head, stared at him, waiting. Marcus lay half in, half out of the shattered doorway. His face was pressed into splintered wood. Blood streamed from his broken nose, painting the snow crimson. He tried to push himself up. Atlas moved to him in 2 strides and placed his jaws around the back of Marcus's neck. Not biting, just holding. A reminder. One wrong move, and it was over. Marcus froze. Oh God, please! This was what Atlas had been trained for. Not the attack, but the control. The ability to escalate and de-escalate on command. To hold a threat without killing it. To wait for orders while chaos screamed around him. In Kandahar, he'd done this to insurgents. Held them pinned while Sarah zip-tied their hands. Kept them motionless, with nothing but pressure and the promise of worse. 2 tours. 37 successful apprehensions. 0 failures. He hadn't forgotten a thing. Sarah reached Whiskers. The kitten was breathing, shallow and fast. Her tiny rib cage fluttered under Sarah's fingers. Alive. Hurt, but alive. Sarah's vision blurred. Relief and rage crashed through her in equal measure. She looked at the 3 men, saw them broken and bleeding on her floor, saw them reduced to what they really were. Cowards who picked on the weak because they thought no one would fight back. They'd been wrong. She cradled Whiskers against her chest with one hand. With the other, she wiped blood from her mouth. "Atlas," she said quietly. "Os." "Release." Atlas released Marcus instantly. The dog backed away 3 steps, then turned and walked to Sarah. The transformation was complete. The weapon became a companion again. He lowered his head and licked her face, gentle as breathing. His tail gave one uncertain wag. "Good boy," Sarah whispered. Her voice broke. "Good boy, Atlas." She was shaking, couldn't stop. Adrenaline drained from her system like water through a sieve, leaving her hollow and cold. Her ribs throbbed. Her scalp burned where Marcus had torn her hair. Blood dripped from her split lip onto Whiskers' orange fur. The kitten's eyes were closed. Her breathing was too fast, too shallow. Sarah pressed her ear to the tiny chest and heard the heartbeat. Rapid, thready, but there. "Hold on," Sarah murmured. "Just hold on, baby." Behind her, the men groaned and sobbed. Tommy cradled his arm. Jake rocked back and forth, keening. Marcus hadn't moved from the doorway. Didn't dare. Atlas watched them all, with flat, unblinking eyes. Sarah's brain finally caught up. Phone. She needed a phone. Her neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, half a mile down the lake road. Sarah had borrowed her phone once before when the power went out. The woman had said, anytime you need anything. Sarah needed it now. She tucked Whiskers inside her flannel shirt, keeping the kitten warm against her body. Every movement sent fire through her ribs. She stood anyway. Stumbled to the door, stepping over Marcus like he was debris. "Don't move," she told the men. Her voice was granite. "Atlas, pass off. Guard." The dog positioned himself between Sarah and the 3 broken men. His message was clear. Try something, please. Sarah walked out into the snow. The cold bit through her clothes. Her bare feet went numb in seconds. She didn't care. She made it to Mrs. Kowalski's porch and pounded on the door. Lights came on. The door opened. "Dear God, Sarah." "Call 911, Sarah said. Then her legs gave out. The blue lights turned the snow into strobing sapphire. 3 sheriff's vehicles, an ambulance. Mrs. Kowalski had made the call and stayed with Sarah, pressing a towel to her lip while they waited. Now deputies moved through the cabin like they were documenting a war zone. Because they were. Tommy was loaded onto a stretcher first, still whimpering about his arm. Jake went next, cuffed despite his mangled hand. Marcus required 2 deputies to haul him up. He was crying, actually crying, begging them to get him away from the dog. Atlas sat beside Sarah on Mrs. Kowalski's couch, calm as stone. The violence had been turned off, filed away. He was just a dog again, leaning against his handler, while she gave her statement. They broke in, Sarah said for the 3rd time. Her voice was flat, empty. Attacked me, hurt my kitten. I gave Atlas the command. What command? The deputy asked. Thas. It's German. It means attack. The deputy wrote that down, looked at Atlas, looked back at Sarah. Ma'am, that's a very well-trained dog. He should be. Sarah pulled the blanket tighter. He's military. A younger deputy across the room looked up sharply. He walked over, crouched down, studied Atlas's face. Then he saw it. The faded unit marking on the dog's old tactical vest, the one Sarah had left on him out of habit. His eyes went wide. That's a Cairo Class K9, he whispered. Sarah looked at him properly for the first time. Dark hair, lean build, something familiar in the eyes. Then it clicked. Martinez. He'd been in the K9 unit 2 bases over. They'd crossed paths during joint training exercises. Martinez? Mitchell. He said her name was something like Reverence. I heard you got out. Didn't know you were up here. I wanted quiet. He looked at the blood on her face, the broken door, the 3 men being loaded into vehicles outside. Guess quiet found you anyway, he said softly. Sarah almost laughed. It came out as a sob instead. Martinez squeezed her shoulder. You did good, Sergeant. Both of you. Atlas's tail thumped once against the floor. The secret was out. The splint on Whiskers' leg was smaller than a popsicle stick. Sarah watched the kitten hobble across the new rug, determined to chase a dust mote despite the vet's orders to rest. 3 cracked ribs and a hairline fracture. She'd heal. Kittens were resilient like that. Sarah's own bruises had faded from purple to yellow-green. Her ribs still ached when she breathed too deep, but the pain was manageable. Familiar. She'd had worse in Kandahar. A knock at the door made Atlas's ears swivel forward. Platts, Sarah said. Stay. She opened the door to Mrs. Kowalski, holding a casserole dish, the 3rd one this week. Chicken and rice, the older woman said. You need to eat, honey. Keep your strength up. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Mrs. Kowalski set the dish on the counter, then paused. How are you really doing? Sarah opened her mouth to say fine. The automatic response, the wall she'd built between herself and everyone else, but the word stuck in her throat. I'm getting there, she said instead. Mrs. Kowalski nodded, didn't push, just squeezed Sarah's hand and left. An hour later, Martinez stopped by in his patrol car. Just checking in, he said, making sure she had everything she needed. He stayed for 20 minutes, talking about nothing important. Old unit gossip, the weather, how Atlas was adjusting. When he left, Sarah realized she'd smiled, actually smiled. The next day, Doc Harrison came to check on Whiskers and ended up staying for coffee. They talked about Atlas's training, about how hard it was to come home, about how isolation felt like safety until it became a prison. Sarah stood at her window after he left, watching snow fall over the lake. Atlas lay between her and the door, same as always, on guard, protecting her from threats that might never come. But his tail wagged when Mrs. Kowalski's car pulled up the drive. Sarah realized something then. She'd been hiding, not just from danger but from everything, from people who might care, from connections that might hurt, from life itself. Atlas had saved her body that night. But this slow opening, this careful trust, this was saving something deeper. She looked down at him. We're going to be okay, she whispered. Atlas's tail thumped against the floor. They were both healing.